Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Fan Behavior. I am Zoe, back with Hannah.
Hey.
Hannah's had a fun evening.
Yes, I had a wedding last night, so.
Woo! But we're here. We're recording.
Yes.
We've done it,
Yeah.
which is great. We weren't together last weekend. We pre-recorded our episode last weekend because I was gone. So now we're back, and then Hannah's going to be gone next weekend. We have a guest co-host for the Bahrain GP, which will be really fun.
Mm-hmm.
But it's obviously even in your state currently, it's wonderful.
Thank you.
It's wonderful to see you as
Happy to
always.
be here.
Shall we get into the race weekend?
Yes, but first,
New sponsor alert.
woohoo! This episode is brought to you by Not So Fast by Karen Booth, a brand new F1 romance novel from Harlequin. Do you love an enemies to lovers trope? I do. Do you love sports romance novels? If your answer to both is yes, Not So Fast needs to be your next read. Follow Mia Neal, an F1 podcaster who ends up going viral following her salty takes on heartthrob British driver Xander Bishop. But when Xander's teammate invites her to the Miami Grand Prix to get in his head, things don't exactly go according to plan. My favorite. Despite the tension, sparks fly between Xander and Mia, leaving Mia wondering if they're a disaster in the making or something more. Not So Fast is currently available on ebook, audiobook, and Kindle Unlimited right now, and print versions will be available to purchase on May 27th. You can snag your copy at harlequin.com, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, or wherever books are sold.
I have the link in our description of this episode, so you can click there. I know Hannah, we're both big readers, but you are especially a big fan of the sports romance
Love a
novel.
sports romance novel.
And I know a lot of people that are F1 fans got into F1 through a F1 romance novel.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're one of those people,
Yeah.
this book is
Plus,
definitely for
podcasters,
you. Podcast,
Formula One romance. Come
yeah.
on.
Fictional world. We don't live in that world. But it is it's fun to see a parallel,
Yes.
shall we say.
We love a parallel.
We love a parallel. Okay, let's get into the race weekend. So, everyone, I'm assuming if you're watching or listening to this, you watched the race, and it was not the most exciting race.
No, which is fine because honestly, it can get really stressful over there, and I wasn't
in Japan.
Yes,
and
I wasn't.
You weren't in the right state of mind.
I personally was not equipped for a crazy race today.
No. So it was. We'll get into that, but it was not. There's not a lot to talk about in terms of the race itself.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, going into the race weekend, lots of things to discuss. And when we talked last, it was unconfirmed that Yuki was going to Red Bull, but still confirmed. And obviously now we've seen him race in the Red Bull.
Yes, we have.
Which was, many mixed emotions. I think most people probably had a big range of emotion, though it does seem like Yuki is definitely a fan favorite. He's one of those guys that even if he's not in your top whatever, you root for him. You want to see him to do well. So I think there was a lot of people really hoping for a strong Yuki weekend. I saw from Yuki, he said that Pierre called him after he got the news to basically help or try to tell him some things that he wished he would have done when he was at Red Bull, gave him some advice. Checo also called him to do the same thing, kind of offer some advice.
Very nice.
Yuki said that he sees, or Checo has kind of been like his dad in which is very sweet. And it's very nice that like the former Red Bull drivers are really trying to make sure that the next, they're like, come on, Yuki, you can do it.
Yeah.
Really trying to help him out.
That's nice. I didn't know Checo was his dad.
Yeah. Well, according to Yuki. And then Max was also asked about that Instagram post that he liked, which we didn't talk about, I don't think, because I think it happened after we had recorded, and I'm sure most people know that Max liked an Instagram post from a former Formula One driver, basically saying, this isn't verbatim, but that he didn't agree with the decision to replace Liam, and that, yes, F1 is very cutthroat, you have to perform, but I think he maybe equated the decision to remove Liam to like bullying in a way. Anyway, Max liked the post, which we all knew it was intentional. Max is not someone who's just like on Instagram.
No.
Liking he's not a pure Gasly, if you will. And Max was asked about it this week, and he basically said, it wasn't a mistake. Like,
I liked it.
Yeah, and he also said, I made my opinions clear to the team, and we move on. Yeah. So, I think some people felt like it was an anti-Yuki sentiment. I do not believe that.
I don't believe it
either. I think it was more of a Red Bull decision making issue rather than an issue with Liam or Yuki, or it wasn't pro Liam, anti Yuki. It
Agreed.
was just didn't like the decision, and I think Max likes Yuki.
Yeah, he seems to.
Yeah, he seems like they have a good time together. So
Yeah.
I think it's all fine, and obviously, the race result this week, I think Max is probably in a pretty good place.
Yeah, he's fine
mentally.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to briefly touch on practice very, very
Sure.
fast, because I think like a lot of people were thinking, okay, where's, you can't read too much into practice, but I do think a lot of us felt like, let's see where Yuki stacks up. Let's see how he does. In FP1, he was within a 10th of Max,
Yeah.
which I think was like a pretty good indicator of, okay, he's in a good position. FP2, Jack had a really bad crash.
Scary.
Really bad crash. He left his DRS flap open. And that's what caused him to, I mean, it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
I mean, we got some questions about Jack and his future, but it just doesn't seem, I don't think if there were no Franco rumors, I don't think you're looking at Jack and saying, oh my God, he's doing so terribly. It's not like he's
I agree
super underperforming Pierre, but because it seems like Alpine wants to put Franco into the car, Jack has to overperform in some ways, and I don't think he's doing that.
No, I agree. And it's a bummer.
Yeah, and a big crash that's going to cost lots of money to repair is not like doing yourself any favors. No. Okay, should we get to qualifying?
Sure.
So,
before, can we just talk about the fires?
Well, for sure.
I was talking about. I guess
no,
I wrote
because it
down
happened in
because of
practice. Yeah,
but my goodness.
Yeah, the fires. Yeah, so I mean, I think people probably saw because it affected qualifying too. But the sparks from the car were then landing in the grass and causing fires. It started in, I can't remember if it happened in FP1 or if it was FP2, or I think FP2 was when it started. And then they basically tried to like really cut down the grass super short. They tried to water the grass, remove parts of the like, I guess it was more pieces that were like, I don't really know exactly. I'm not like a grass expert, but parts of it that maybe were more likely to catch fire or something. Well, it still happened in qualifying. Thankfully, it did have, they were lucky that it rained prior to the race, because then the grass was
wet.
That
so difficult.
But it's just like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Stupid.
Very.
Okay, Q1.
Yes.
So Lance had a little not incident, but he went off. He was last.
Yeah.
He was P20. And we haven't really been talking much about Lance.
No, we haven't.
Lance has been pretty solid, but this weekend wasn't the best
great.
Lance. Jack was also out, Esteban, Gabby, Nico. And Liam barely got through.
I know.
That was, I mean,
I'm so glad that he did.
That was dicey.
It was
he
dicey.
was very close. And then Isaac was having this issue with his seatbelt, but apparently he was also like potentially infringing on his private parts.
Yes.
That was causing some of the
I think that's why they kept talking about his underwear. It's like, guys,
it's just like,
we don't need to talk about his underwear.
So stressed. He was just like, I'm so sorry. Like, if this is how I get out, like, I don't know what to do.
Me.
Like, I just, oh my God, it's happening again.
Yeah.
And he was just having a little bit of a panic, which is exactly how I think I would be in the car. Just like, oh my God. Like, this can't be happening. What's going on? You know?
Well, and it's scary because like, if there was an issue with the actual seatbelt, like if it was coming undone or whatever, like that's obviously hugely unsafe. Just the seatbelt is not the thing that you want to be having struggles with.
You don't want to be thinking about other things when you're driving a car.
No,
you know?
Especially if your junk is being impeded. You know, like it's a lot.
It's not good. Like, how are you expected to drive fast when you're in such pain?
You can't. Poor guy.
It's not possible. And then in Q1, I do have to say, just because we're taking our small wins here, Yuki was within at less than a 10th from Max.
Yes,
I was thinking, oh, here we go. If it wasn't to be, but
hey,
it was a good moment in time. And again, I just feel like we didn't have that before.
Right.
So I do think we have to take the small wins. We have to take the small wins.
And I'm just like, for me, the win is that Yuki and Liam both got into Q2.
Yes.
I was just happy for both of them.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
All right. So then Q2, Yuki just struggled. He, I guess, had a little bit of a mistake in his final lap, which cost him the rest of the lap. P15. Liam did out-qualify him. There was a big, on social media, lots of posts about Liam out-qualifies Yuki, but people totally disregarded Isaac in the whole thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, So Liam also out, Alonso, Carlos, and Pierre.
Mm-hmm.
And then Carlos gets himself a 3-place grid penalty because he, what did he do? Or he moved into Lewis.
Yeah.
Or was in his space. We'll get to Carlos in the race too, but it's just Carlos.
I know.
It's interesting how I think, obviously we've said this 1,000 times, that the way that you watch a race is it sounds so dumb, but is so dependent on the drivers you like and the drivers you want to do well. And it's so easy to forget about other people or to not pay attention to what's going on with other people if they're not one of your favorite drivers.
Yeah.
On the flip side, if you have a favorite driver and you're so focused on what they do, and then you don't feel like anybody else is paying attention, you're like, wait, why aren't you, but the reality is not everyone can know every single thing that's going on with every driver during a race and the strategy calls and this, that, the other. Like, it's impossible to keep it all together.
Yeah.
But it does feel like, I don't know, there's just something. Carlos is he's still coming to grips with the car, but I don't think I expected him to struggle this much.
I didn't either. And I feel like it was Jock was saying something about, like, every time he's changed teams, like, it takes him a few races to, like, and sure, I'm sure it does. It's a bummer to see him.
I guess
so
I
far
feel
behind.
like his other times when he moved, and obviously like the McLaren move was, well, the Renault and the McLaren move were both on Drive to, like, we've witnessed those through Drive to Survive. So obviously, like, we didn't have the full context of what was going on, but it did seem like he moved to Renault. He does decently well. I mean, I guess he does get kind of kicked out of his seat, and then that's why he has to go to McLaren, but, like, he does better. And again, his teammate at the time was rookie Lando Norris.
Yeah.
Like, it was, it's a different situation. You can't compare a Lando of today to a Lando of back then.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Max. And Ferrari, it did seem like he was up to speed fairly quickly with Charles Leclerc. So I think it's a little too soon to be pushing panic button or whatever, but it is just interesting.
It is interesting.
Okay, Q3. I want to shout out to Isaac for getting into Q3, P8, or P7, I think is how he qualified, right? Ahead of Lewis Hamilton.
Yep.
Impressive
His
for him.
hero. Which
Ollie
is so fun.
Gets into Q3 when his teammate gets out in Q1.
Yep.
Very impressive. Good job to Ollie. And then Max freaking Verstappen.
My God, what a lap.
I was genuinely shocked.
Me too.
When he went into P1, I did not expect that from him.
No,
I thought this is going to be a McLaren 1-2. Is it going to be between Oscar or is it going to be between Lando? I thought George would get P3, and I thought Max might be P4, P5. That was kind of what I was thinking going into qualifying, just based off of practice and how he was talking about the car. And then out of nowhere, it really did feel like, not the lap. I don't know if it's too dramatic to say it was the lap of his life. Yeah. Because he's had so many amazing laps. But it just felt like this was the epitome of a Max Verstappen, like who Max Verstappen is as an F1 driver, you know? You should have worn your
I know, I
favorite driver is Max Verstappen.
I tried to look for it.
That is who he is. The car is difficult to drive. His teammates can't really seem to do much in it. And somehow, some way, he finds a way to get pole position. Yeah. It really is.
And did he break a lap record? Yeah. Of course he did.
It's held by Sebastian Vettel, I think, had the lap record prior. And yeah, so just really crazy, really impressive.
Yeah. And he was just excited again.
He was
too,
so
which
excited.
I love. Like,
he
it
was
just makes me so happy.
excited. Yeah, I mean, I anticipated him that he was going to be excited about it.
Yeah.
Because it did feel like it was just, he put it all out there essentially, but it was
fun.
Hats off to you, Max. Yeah. That was very impressive.
Just everyone celebrating and GP's just like writing notes.
Another day in the office for him.
Just so funny. He's like Oscar.
Yeah, exactly. So Lando got P2, Oscar P3. I was hoping for an Oscar pole, but wasn't to be. That's okay. And I think George had a little bit of a mistake. He was P5, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, and another shout out to Kimi Antonelli, just hanging in there with his teammate. I mean, he is just killing it. So anything else from qualifying?
No, I don't believe so.
All right, to the race where nothing really
Big snoozer
happened.
Yeah.
You know what? That's okay though. Saying
It's
this
totally
to
fine.
my mom and dad, you have 24 races out of a season, and it sounds cheesy, but you don't really appreciate the bangers unless you have
Totally.
some that aren't that great.
Yeah, and as I said, I did not have the bandwidth for a crazy
exactly.
race today,
And sometimes
so I'll take it.
Listen, I'm at the point in my Formula One journey. I think maybe when you're a young new fan, you do need the excitement to like keep you interested.
Yeah.
But when you get to a point, I think every fan knows this, where you are a fan and you know you're a fan. You kind of everything is kind of fun. You find ways to kind of enjoy anything,
Sure.
even if the race itself is a little bit of a snoozer. Like we all find ways to make Monaco more exciting if we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We try our best.
Yeah.
This was kind of a Monaco vibe. And I mean, there was obviously more overtaking, but it was a little bit of a parade.
Yes, it was.
So the big problem at I just wrote down was the shifts, because Max had issues with the shift. And then Alex.
Man, he was feisty today.
He was. Do you have the screenshots?
I don't have the screenshots,
I was-
but I just said Alex Albon mad, LOL.
He was really, and he was so like
Frantic?
Frantic.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
He was just like, I don't understand what you're saying.
He was. I don't feel like I guess he has been that way on the radio before. Like I think he has. I think he was that way. I can't remember what race it was this season where he was a little bit feisty.
Yeah.
Is a good word, but he was really quite feisty.
Yeah.
Which we're two people who like the feistiness. We will never judge an F1 driver for.
No.
I
would.
In fact,
be
we
the same
appreciate
way.
it.
Yeah, I do.
We want it.
Yeah.
I will say I was deeply disappointed. I don't care even if it was the most boring radio on earth. We got no Yuki radios at all the
you're right.
entire race.
Stupid.
What the heck? First of all, he spent a good chunk of the race behind Pierre at the beginning. He had to have been saying something.
I know.
About that.
So true.
Something.
Yeah.
And then he was behind Fernando for the other part, which again,
He wasn't quiet.
no, and I don't even care if it was like Yuki, we're thinking plan A, plan B, and he says plan A.
Yeah.
Just something. Like it's his home race in the Red Bull. Just give us something.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Classic.
And then there was a Charles Leclerc, another, do you have it written down?
Yes, you've already told me. I didn't do it for a reason.
Yeah. Passive aggressive king.
Yes, you've already told me. Lewis is getting mad too.
But Charles is a lot more passive aggressive.
Oh, for sure.
Like his is more like, every time he talks is just kind of like a teenager talking back to their dad.
Totally.
Lewis's is more, he's more like directly
firm.
questioning something.
Sure.
Yeah, and Charles is very much like, ugh, stop talking to me. You know?
Whatever.
Yeah, exactly, which is hilarious. And he has not been on a podium this season, has he, Charles Leclerc, which is a gross miscarriage of justice.
Well,
what
he
is
should
that,
drive
what
better.
What is that from?
17 again.
17 again.
Gross miscarriage of justice.
It really is. It's a miscarriage of justice. It's so terrible. But anyway, so Max was complaining about that. Alex was complaining about the shifts. And then, the next note I had was about Max and Lando coming out of the pits.
Oh, yeah.
And, right away, Lando's like, I knew he was going to say that he pushed him off. I knew right away. I saw it actually from they have like a far out shot, and I could see Max and Lando coming out. I thought, oh shit, they're like pretty much neck and neck. But I was like, there's nothing here. And honestly, Lando kind of did himself a disservice. He should have just tucked himself right behind Max, conceded the space, because going off into the grass, I think it kind of lost him time.
Yeah.
And then he wasn't really ever able to get close enough to Max again. I think if he had just tucked himself right behind Max, he would have been in a better position to maybe catch him once they were back out on track. So something to consider, Lando, going forward.
And they just left that, right? They didn't do anything with that?
Yeah, there was nothing. And then I feel like, so then there was a lot of talk about, did McLaren pit at the right time? And why did they pit right when Max pitted? And I agree, that was sort of silly. They talked about on the broadcast, there was no threat of an undercut in this race, or not much of one, and so there's no need to pit early necessarily. You're not really going to get a disadvantage by staying out. Why not try staying out, extend your lead, see if something can happen. Maybe Max gets dropped into some traffic or something. And Max did have a slow pit stop, I think, which is why Max and Lando were close coming out. But it was just sort of weird. And then there was the whole conversation about, should McLaren have let Oscar through? Now, listen, once again, if you're a Lando fan, you're going to have a certain opinion. If you're an Oscar fan, you're going to have a certain opinion.
I mean, it was his birthday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, if there's any day, he could have pulled the birthday card. That would have been funny if he'd said, guys, it's my birthday. Oscar would literally never do that. No. I mean, I don't think any F1 driver would do that, but him especially, he's not asking for that. I think, listen, McLaren is going to be in these situations so often with these two because they're so close. And so they're going to be right next to each other very often throughout the course of the rest of the season. I personally don't think McLaren, it was McLaren's responsibility to change spots. And I know that Japan, Suzuka, it's a hard track to overtake on. I don't doubt that Oscar maybe had more pace than Lando. But also, I'm of the belief that you let your drivers fight on the track, you let them race. So if Oscar did have and we saw he was close to passing, at different points of the race. Yeah. But, you say you can pass him on the track. Yeah. And if you can, go ahead. Great. Yeah. But we're not going to interfere here.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I think, and I also think there's a difference between, we see it sometimes, we saw it with Alpine, they switched positions, Haas too, but that was different because Haas was on different tire strategy, so Ollie had just pitted, Esteban hadn't, so that made sense. Like there was other reasons, and I get it when you're maybe like P7, P8, and you want to try to catch a driver up the road, but when you're already in podium positions, it's just a little.
And also, it's the third race, fourth race. You know what I mean? I can also understand like doing something or like being more pushy about doing something when we're closer to like the end of the season or the championships at stake or whatever.
And I'm sure people will have different opinions on it. And if you're and I am an Oscar fan, I am more of an Oscar fan than I am a Lando fan. I like them both. So I wanted Oscar to pass Lando and I wanted him to catch Max, but I am not upset that McLaren didn't intervene.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because I did feel like Oscar had chances to potentially pass Lando on track. And also they talked about this, I think, post-race, basically like, your Saturday results affects your Sunday result. And so Lando qualified higher than Oscar. Yeah. And so that, there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I don't have a problem with it, but I also recognize that I don't have like the most
unbiased perspective.
Or I'm it's not like, but I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not like Lando or Oscar are like my driver that I'm like, so I understand if you have a more biased perspective, you're going to probably have a stronger opinion on it.
Fair enough.
That's just how I think. Okay, we had Kimi leading the race, youngest F1 driver ever to lead a race, which, pop off Kimi.
Yeah.
King, I just love him so much. I really do. Him and Isaac are my favorite rookies. I Isaac,
big fan.
Fighting through his pain. Yeah, and I think he also had some other issue like with his seat or something today. I don't know, but he got points, so good for Isaac.
They've got to get that figured out. His seatbelt situation.
And it is interesting. I mean, again, I know it's Liam's first race back in VCARB. We also should talk about VCARB was so nice.
They were so
welcoming Liam back in. That was really sweet, and we got more TikToks of Liam and Isaac doing more Kardashians.
The Kardashian shtick is like really working
literally
for me.
I need the Kardashians to come to a race and like acknowledge Isaac as their long lost brother. Like that would be so funny.
It would be funny.
They are the audio. They did that trend when they have you seen the trend on TikTok where parents like they'll give like the dad will have they'll cover their, I think they give the dad one cookie, the kid two cookies, and then the mom like she won't have anything, and but they'll cover them with like a napkin, so they'll unveil, and the dad will be like, I have one cookie, and then the kid will be like, I have two, and then the mom will cover and she's like, I don't have any, and the whole thing is that most oftentimes the kid will be like, oh, I can, and give their mom the cookie. And they did that with Liam, Isaac, and then their reserve driver. They were like, it was so funny because they were like, I could tell that they were so confused, but and then I think Isaac was the one that didn't have any cookies, and then they gave him one, and there was like, okay, this is a trend for children, but like it is funny. Yeah. I don't know. Whoever is behind the VCARB Instagram or TikTok page, they're really doing a great job. And I know you feel very happy that Isaac is down to play. Yeah. Because there's nothing worse than when you have a driver who doesn't want to do it.
Totally.
And he's clearly down to have a good time.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? I mean, honestly,
No.
not a lot else. Max, obviously, he does a great job, hangs on to the lead, just super incredible performance from him. And I don't know, it was just very much, it was a, not that we've ever doubted Max, not that I think most people understand that Max is maybe the best driver on the grid right now. I know there's, that's a hot take thing to say.
You said maybe.
Maybe. He definitely is one of the best.
Yeah, of course.
But, and he honestly probably is the best currently right now at this very moment in time. I think if you took everyone in their prime, different story, but as of right now, yes, I think he is. And it was just a nice reminder that this is Max Verstappen. And even though his car might be shit and other things might be going on, he can still do this.
Yeah.
So
it was fun. And I also just, I just like how it's just nice to have them all excited again, Like, I think it's good to miss winning,
Totally. Yeah. I mean, listen, I've missed a lot of winning in my life. Yeah, you don't have to tell me twice.
That's fair. But it just makes it so much sweeter. Simply
must
lovely.
Be nice.
I love that your dad was like, who started that?
Yeah, my dad was. My dad asked who started Simply Lovely. He was watching Drive to Survive. He was catching up on some episodes, and so I think Zach had said it when they won the constructors, and so he was confused as to where that started. So anyway, and then it was funny when Max was in the cool down room and they were watching the different things that had happened, and they showed the scene of Lando running off into the grass when him and Max was like, that's an expensive lawnmower, which was funny. It was a good line. Good job, Max. So anyway, I mean, not a very exciting race.
No, which is great.
Some action happening in the back, but not a ton. You had Carlos kind of overtaking some people towards the end of the race, but he was on softs and everyone else was not on softs. So it was a tire. Yes, it was great that he was overtaking people for a P13 or whatever he ended up being, but also it was not like there was the tire mismatch, I guess. Okay, should we get to our fan info? Do you have a fan info?
Yeah.
Okay. I can go first if you'd like.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, so my fan is that we have had 4 different races, if you include the sprint race, and we've had 4 different winners.
That's great.
Lando obviously winning in Australia, Lewis winning the sprint race in China, Oscar winning the race in China, and Max winning the race here in Japan. And you know what? That's wonderful. I think a lot of people are worried about McLaren dominance, and I know it's a little tricky, but I don't think that'll be the case. And I do think that as upgrades get introduced and other things come around, I do think we'll see more people maybe fighting for wins, crossing fingers for Charles Leclerc, potentially a George Russell, maybe a Kimi Antonelli, maybe, Yuki Tsunoda, God forbid. That would be nice. I do think I'm putting it out there into the universe. Yuki will get a podium this season.
I think so.
He's going to do it because just to defend Yuki for a bit, because he finished, I think, P12 in the race. And I do feel like if he had put the lap together, I think he definitely had the pace to get into Q3.
Yeah.
Like, I really do think he did. I don't think it was like for lack of pace. And I think if he did get into Q3, I think he would have easily gotten points.
Yeah.
I just think he was stuck in the back in traffic. It was hard to overtake, and he just could not make any moves really happen. Not many people could, honestly, as we saw. I mean, Oscar spent however many laps stuck behind Lando Norris.
Yeah.
So I think if he can just qualify better in the future, which I think he definitely can, he's going to have success.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there.
I agree with you.
Okay, your fan.
I'm just really excited that Yuki is at Red Bull. Like, I really wasn't sure how I was feeling about all of it, and I'm just so jazzed. Because I also wasn't sure. I know that like Max and Yuki get along, but I just wasn't sure with and obviously it's very early days, but I think they have good rapport. I love that the 22 is on the Red Bull. It's all very exciting. It's our favorite number.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just jazzed. I really am.
It's really fun.
And the white livery.
So good.
Chef's kiss.
So good.
Beautiful. I love it so much. And I will miss it dearly.
Yeah. And fun for Yuki to get to do it. I know he was disappointed that he didn't get points, for these Japanese fans. But fun week for him, I'm sure, getting to do all the fun things in Japan. He's like breakdancing and doing other things. Yeah. His dad was, I don't know if you saw pictures of his dad. His dad was popping off. He's like fashion king. Just like very suave guy.
Love.
Great head of hair. which is good news. Well, I guess you get your hair from your mom's side of the family, but so I guess never mind.
I mean, Yuki's hair seems to be.
He seems like he's doing fine. Yeah. And so anyway, I am happy for him, and I also think too, Max and they've gotten to do content together over the year, with the V-carb and those kinds of things. So they already have that friendship. Hopefully it lasts. And I think it's good.
Good.
Okay. My foe is, and I know this is going to be controversial, or maybe it won't be, Jacques Villeneuve.
Thank God. Cannot.
Yeah.
No.
I know a lot of people. Well, okay. I did see some people on the internet talking about how they did not like him. I did see some people saying how they did like him.
Great.
Obviously, everybody, especially sports commentating, I know is a very subjective game. As a person who's watched sports since I can remember, I have very strong feelings in every sport I watch: football, basketball, soccer, Formula One, about the announcers I like and the announcers I don't like. Now, I know a lot of people, whenever we bring up commentators, they always talk about, well, watch F1 TV. I want to say, I like the Sky Sports commentator. I know that's also controversial because a lot of people do not like the Sky Sports commentators, but I love Crofty. I know it's controversial. I love Martin Brundle.
Yeah. I did not know it was controversial to like Crofty.
I think it is. I think most people prefer F1 TV.
No.
Now, I will say for me too.
Not most people.
I will say for me, in this economy, I already pay to have the Sky Sports coverage with my TV package. I cannot justify also paying for F1 TV. I just can't. Even if I wanted to, I can't justify it. I already have the TV, so I'm not going to be spending twice.
Yeah.
But I also I like Sue Me, but I like Crofty. Okay.
It's fine.
I like Ted Kravitz. I know that's also controversial.
Who cares?
Well, I'm just saying that, like, everybody has their own opinion.
And
I know people do not like the British bias too. I know people don't like the British bias.
Whatever. I'm biased enough. Other things.
And listen, like I said, there's like NFL commentators that I love. There's this one that I love, Tony Romo, that I know my whole family hates, everyone hates. It's totally, actually literally doesn't matter. Like, because it's so dumb and it's just an opinion. It's just all, but if Martin Brundle cannot,
it has to be Nico.
Or Jensen Button.
Yes.
That's it. That is it.
I will say, was it Harry Benjamin or Henry I don't know. There was someone last year that
he also does F1 TV.
Oh, he does.
He does F1 TV.
He was good. I didn't know that he does F1 TV.
And I actually, for the most part, bring in like Natalie Pinkham, bring in a woman, bring in some. I mean, I like pretty much every other Sky Sports commentator except for we all know who we're talking about.
Yeah. Her.
But Jacques Villeneuve, I think he was fine. He'd be fine as like a third not even. Like, I was going to say as sort of like a side commentator that maybe pops in. But
he's like the replay guy.
Yeah. But my issue with him is he would kind of cut Crofty off a lot of times. He would kind of talk over him. He'd also would talk over the radios as they were playing. And I just didn't think I don't feel like he offered anything very insightful.
No, and it was interesting because there were multiple times where Crofty was like, walk us through this lab. And then he just didn't say it. And Crofty just like, or not?
Yes, he would be. Yeah.
Also, I didn't like, he hates Daniel.
Yeah, he does.
So, like, immediately as soon as I figured that out, I was just like, well, I just don't think you and I are going to get along. And that's okay. Yeah. But there was something about it's like, obviously, he's very knowledgeable. He was
of course,
a very talented driver.
Yeah.
Like, I totally get it.
Yeah.
But there was this, and maybe this is just how you are, but there was like a know-it-all energy that was very frustrating. Like, what's interesting is the way that Crofty asks questions. Sometimes it's like, are you trying to ask so that a new fan or people watching will get the answer that, as if you don't know, but do you actually not know the answer to these questions? And I don't know. And in some of those questions, I do think, he had an interesting take, and it was obviously he's very knowledgeable, but it wasn't for me.
It was.
Sorry, I feel like I'm sneeze. I'm good. I recovered.
Because last season, for those who don't remember, Nico did China.
Yeah.
Which I think was the fourth race of this season, and this is obviously the third race of the season. Yeah, it was so good. And I know there were people then too who didn't necessarily like Nico, but
It was just so chaotic.
It was so funny because again, if you're not, you have to fill. I feel like when you're a commentator, you kind of have to fill a role, so to speak. Like either you are incredibly knowledgeable, you have all the information, you share a bunch of information, you're like very fact driven, you are entertaining, like you provide the drama and kind of you know, there's like a not an acting quality to your performance, but kind of, and then you or you're just like chaotic and funny, and Nico kind of fills that role. Just it was so good, and I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah,
and
big fan.
I just it wasn't for me personally. I'm sure there's people out there who loved it, but I was not one of those people.
I wasn't either, and I'm ready for Marty to come back.
Would like
I
Martin
hope he
to come
enjoyed
back.
his weekend off. But
I know. And also, I'm like, why would you skip Japan? Japan seems like a race I would want to go to. Of all the races on the calendar, I'm like, that would be like a fun trip. But maybe he's done it enough times that he doesn't feel the need.
And he might, I wonder if since he was gone around the same time last year, like maybe he has a standing holiday.
I know. Where was Nico Rosberg? I'm asking for a friend.
What's funny is when I first, like, I think I was maybe actually tuned into practice a little bit. Go me, because I saw Jack's crash, so then I wanted to know what was going on. And when I first heard his voice for a split second, I thought it was Nico, and I was like, yes. And then I was like, wait, who are you? I don't want you. You don't like Daniel for quite literally no reason at all that anyone can figure out.
Because I think he thinks he's too like smiley. Well, it doesn't matter
Yeah,
anymore.
he smiles.
Nico is, I mean, Daniel is gone. Like, it doesn't matter. He won. He won the battle.
Matters.
It matters. Anyway,
it's relevant.
Okay, let's get to some of your questions. A lot of questions about why McLaren didn't make the team order to switch. We've already talked about that. Which rookie is surprising you the most?
I think Ollie.
Okay.
And actually, to be fair, Isaac, I really wasn't. It's not that he surprised me. I just really had no idea.
Yeah.
And I expected Kimmy to do what he's doing. But
I was gonna say, I expected Kimmy to be pretty good. I had high expectations for Kimmy. I also kind of had I thought Ollie would, again, because we saw him race last year and he did well, that I kind of believed he would also perform well. Isaac is the one that I didn't, not that I thought I would not like Isaac, but I'm surprised as to how much I like him as a racing driver, because I think he's very fast and very good, and then also off track too. I think he's like a very fun personality. Yeah, and we could have freaking been in his car, but that's okay.
I know. Yeah, I was thinking about that because I'm like, well, but Frankie, I mean,
I
know.
What
a once in a lifetime
We'll
thing.
have another chance with Isaac.
Yeah, we will.
I believe that.
Yeah. And now we'll appreciate it more because we could do a Kardashian bit with him or something.
Okay, this is for you. Yeah, that'd be good. This is for you, Hannah. Max looked so happy and looks great in white. How did you like the special suit?
Loved. Thank you so much for asking that question. I was just so happy for him all weekend, and I thought, chef's kiss. I mean, I really did.
Good for Honda too. Honda's thinking yes, because it's our last time. Our last time
Honda's
with
yes. That was amazing.
Cut to the president of Honda in the hospitality. Yes.
I don't know why that was
because Yuki struggled, so at least they're like, final year of us with Red Bull, we got the victory. That's good for them.
Yeah, it is.
Who was your driver of the day? I was shocked to see it was Yuki, even though it was his home race. I was also shocked it was Yuki.
Me too.
I think it should have been Max.
Yeah.
I mean, personally.
Yeah.
But I'm never going to be upset about a Yuki driver of the day.
No.
I think he probably also would agree that it was a little bit of a, it's Yuki's home race. Woo. It had nothing to do with his driving. I mean, he wasn't bad. He wasn't like dropping positions.
He was just fine.
But he was fine.
Yeah.
But it wasn't worthy, I don't believe, of driver of the day.
No, I agree.
And you guys know I'm biased as hell.
That's true.
Think Yuki could have been up there fighting at the front if RB hadn't messed up his Q3 run. I don't know that they messed it up necessarily. I mean, they did bring him out quite early. I would say he was one of the first to finish his final run of Q2, and I feel like he maybe would have benefited from. I think they were worried too because he was already in the relegation zone when it was Q2. I think they were worried about there being another fire and him getting out because they had to stop the session and he wouldn't have gotten a chance to get a run in. So I think they were kind of trying to be a little bit safe. Yes, I do think he would have gotten points, and I think he would have been fine if he had gotten into Q3. And we know he's a good qualifier, so I'm not worried about his qualifying in the future. Like, he'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Thoughts on Jacques as a commentator? Been there, done that. Bierman beating Ocon.
Yeah.
Rookie doing overall well. Yeah, that was impressive from him. And do you think it was one of the best, if not the best, Max qualifying laps ever?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
statistically, yes.
All of Max's qualifying laps, but yeah, I think given where the car is,
Yeah. Well, and I think everyone was shocked by it. I think it was, we've seen him do really impressive laps, but it's like we're all expecting it to happen. I think this one just kind of came out of nowhere and was just record breaking, literally.
Yes. Okay. Also, so I don't know if you saw this, that Carlos was fined by the FIA.
Yeah, like 17,000 euros.
Yeah. So apparently, if you are late to the national anthem, you get fined a hefty fine. There was a video, I think actually Tony posted it last year, of Yuki running for his life.
Oh yeah,
down the pit lane, trying to get to the trying to get to the anthem in time. I think he was late. I think he did get fined. But yeah, so Carlos was late because I guess he had to go to the bathroom. He had some sort of medical issue. Ooh. According to him, I don't know what that means exactly, but even still, he was fine. I mean, it's one of those things. I understand the FIA feeling like we need to ensure that the drivers are present for the national anthem. We don't want there to be any leeway. This is very important, and so we're going to have this really hefty penalty if you're not there. I understand that. I also get that, like, when then there starts to be this whole but I had this issue and I had this issue, then it gets into this it's like, complicated situation.
What, like, you need a doctor's note that you went to the bathroom? Like, that's too much.
Yes. So
you just kind of have to keep it
crazy.
strict.
I do think, I'm not 100% sure about this, I believe it is the team that pays this fine. I could be wrong about that, not the driver themselves. Again, I could be wrong about that. That might actually only be if it's if the driver gets held back because of a team thing, and then I don't know. It is a crazy fine.
It is pretty
crazy.
But
it does suck if he was actually sick. But Carlos, thankfully,
he'll be all right.
He can afford it, so I think he's.
But
good.
It is crazy.
It is very crazy. Okay. Anything? Oh yeah, Carlos 3 overtakes not getting mentioned much in the media. I mean, yes, I do think it was great that he was overtaking cars when nobody else was, but he was on softs and other people were not. So I do think that had something to do with it. I mean, I don't think Carlos is I think he's definitely having some struggles. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's as bad as some people may think it is. I think he's close enough. He will get there. He will find his flow. Yeah. And I feel like, I could be wrong about this. Well, I was going to say I feel like he's better in the European section of the season, but I actually don't know if that's true. I think he'll find his way. I think he'll be okay. Yeah, I'm not worried about Carlos. All right. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Well, that is the Japanese Grand Prix done and dusted. Congrats to Max, and looking forward to Bahrain. I know you won't be here.
I will not.
But you will be back for Saudi Arabia. We do have a triple header in front of us. So that's all good and well. And thankfully, we are, as people in the States, we are now behind the terrible times to watch F1 races. Yeah. They will be on at appropriate times of the day. We can wake up. We can turn it on, watch it live.
Feel very grateful for that.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Gotta start doing that all the time.
I was giving Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Which I know you don't like, but
no. But I understand.
Yeah. So and not that I was somebody who was waking up. I was going to sleep and waking up in the morning to watch all these different sessions. But I know there were a lot of people out there who were waking up, and I know how treacherous of an experience it is.
Truly.
So if you are an American F1 fan, I also think it was rough for Europeans too. I think they had to wake up quite early. Mm-hmm. So everything now, it's going to be a bad situation for the people in Australia. I did see Nicole Piastri tweet. I'm going to get the specific tweet because I just thought it was very funny. And I also wanted to bring up, I think I brought this up to Hannah.
Yes.
Well, I'll bring it up after I bring up her tweet.
Okay.
But she tweeted.
The curse? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Un momento.
Okay.
Birthday podium and driver of the day for my boys. Very proud.
I love her. She's such a doll.
And what I told Hannah, and this isn't, I didn't come up with this. I saw this, I think, on somewhere in social media, and I don't want to take credit for it, but someone said that, the whole Red Bull second seat curse, it didn't affect Mark Webber. I mean, he was competitive, and then Daniel obviously wasn't affected either. Both of them are Australian, and then we've had, a French guy, Thai, Mexican. We've had, lots of non-Australians.
Yeah. It just was funny that you
I couldn't remember who was after
Yeah.
Pierre. Nick DeVries. I guess he wasn't in the Red Bull, but he was in the Red Bull family. Anyway, that Yuki maybe could avoid the Red Bull curse because he has been adopted by his Australian mother, Nicole Piastri.
Yeah.
And so maybe he has been protected
Via osmosis
from
he's
said
now-
curse because he can also, I think, claim Australia as his home race.
Yeah.
Through adoption. Now, I don't know if Oscar Piastri acknowledges Yuki as his adopted brother. But
I think so.
But he has to because he himself has been adopted.
Yeah, right.
By Charles Leclerc.
Yeah.
So it's a messy family.
Yeah, it is
situation.
very dynamic.
That was so funny last year. Sorry to keep this going on and on, but
No,
when it was the Monaco GP and they changed Oscar's name
Yes.
and the graphic,
It
like
was
that
perfect.
was funny.
Yeah. By the way, still hate the graphics.
Yeah.
Specifically
They-
the comms ones.
Yeah, the comms ones. Did they take away the little exclamation point?
I think so, which
because
is the only thing I like.
noticed, I think it was Carlos who was being investigated for something,
Yeah,
and
and it
they
didn't
took
pop
it
up.
away,
Mhm.
or I didn't see it. So suspicious.
Especially because it's the one thing we all liked about the new graphics.
Exactly.
But whatever. So I love you.
Okay, well now we're really done.
Yeah.
Have a great work trip and all the things.
Thanks.
And we'll be back next week with a special guest for Bahrain, and then we'll be back for Saudi Arabia.
Yay.
See you guys next time.
Enchanté.